Welcome everyone. This video is on how I carbon skin this car. Now, I've actually gone through all the footage. It's been about a year getting all the footage together of different bits and pieces. I'll start from the start and I'll focus on one piece I did on the car, start to finish. Then I'll go through and I'll just be targeting things that went wrong and things to do and not to do. So stick around and hopefully you'll learn something from this video. So today is a day I've been worried about for quite a while because we're dealing with the carbon and it's pretty expensive and easy to stuff up. So I've just cleaned up this bench really well, so I've got a good surface to cut it on. I have 10 meters of carbon here and it's twill weave, I think it's 220 gram. And I also have some peel ply that I'll be putting on to help suck out any extra resin. Now, I'm probably going to cut the peel ply first and use that as the template to then cut my carbon. I've decided for the first piece I'm going to do one of the smaller pieces as a test run, and that is the rear wing. I've got it all smoothed off like a nice car panel, and then I've put some black paint on it so then none of the colour of the white gel coat shows through onto the job. There is a little bit of white up on this edge here, but I think it'll be fine. And yeah, so now I just got the daunting mission of trying not to stuff this all up. Let's see how it goes. So what you would have seen in the time lapse then was I had it cut to shape and Morgan came out and helped me, and we used some spray adhesive, particularly for doing this, to spray it down and stick this down to it. So now it's stuck on nice and hard. Then I was able to trim it up a bit more and sort of tuck it around, actually glue it up in there so it's in position, and I'm going to let it set up in this position. And then what I'll do is put my resin over top, and it's not going to be a really thick coat. I'm just going to get a nice coat on there, and then I'm going to wrap it in peel ply, and that will hopefully draw away any of that extra resin that I don't want in there for the first coat. And then I'll just let it harden up and we'll see how it turns out. Alrighty, so here we are 24 hours later and it's all feeling set up and quite hard. Now in a couple of spots it has what kind of look like little wrinkles. I can't really tell if it's just wee puddles of resin that have come through the peel ply or if it's actual little wrinkles. So I guess I'll find out when I peel it off to see if there's little humps of resin there, but yeah, it feels like it's set up really well, so let's see if I can actually peel this peel ply off and see what we're going to deal with next. So here we go, this is it with the peel ply off. It has the textured finish from the peel ply, which gives you something to sand into for your etching for your next coat, and it gives me a chance. There is some little wrinkles here, they're not too bad, and it looks like they're on top of the carbon. So I'll sand them nice and flat while I'm at it. Then I'll trim these edges flat with our frame, and then I'll be ready to hot coat it. So after a bit of sanding, it was going fine, but I realised I was starting to blow through in a couple of spots like this. So I just stopped, and now I am just going to put on another hot coat, and maybe I'll wait until it tacks off, and I might even do another coat again just to build up a bit more layer to sand, because I want this thing to be nice and flat, and trying to sand some of them out. Maybe I was using the wrong block, but that may have been a part of it. But when I do my next parts, I'm going to be adding an extra layer when I do that last layer. And for this one, I might get another 2 just because I'm already so far through it. So, yeah, trial and error, but it seems to be, I think we'll save it and it'll still look good. Awesome, and how good is this looking? Still a couple of imperfections, but working that out. I'm going to give it another clear as well, but for now I'm happy just to leave this like it is, and it's looking great. So I've gone on, put it on the car, and as you can see, the back rear guards are all ready to get their skin layer with a bit of black paint there. Right, so here again, I'm cutting out the carbon using the peel ply as the template. Now, peel ply was really good when it was a reasonably flat and not so curvy surface, but as soon as it got a bit complicated, the peel ply would get these little wrinkles or bumps, and it was you couldn't get it to smooth down real good. You can kind of see here, and that sort of caused problems. You can kind of isolate the problems by like doing little cuts, and then you knew you'd get a little seam that you had to sand there, which was cool. But in the end, I don't know if it was as beneficial in the later process. So now I'm just going to address straight into the biggest problem I had, and that was the paint I was using underneath to give it a bit of a background. One, you probably don't actually really need it, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't have anything showing through. Now, particularly this one on the bonnet. Now, when I did the wing, I actually used black from a spray can, so I guess it was enamel, and it was sweet. That was my trial piece. Then I go and do this really big piece of carbon on the bonnet. Had some buddies come and help me get it on really nice, and was super stoked when I went to leave. I did do a little bit of a funny order, but as you can see in these shots here, it was a nightmare. It bubbled underneath, and I could not work out why. And after talking to a whole lot of people, the conclusion is the paint I used underneath broke down with the chemicals in the epoxy and caused all sorts of problems. So you really need to use either a 2K paint or an enamel paint, or do some trials first. Make sure what you're doing isn't going to have happened what happened to me. Yeah, a lot of lessons were learnt there. You can also maybe clear coat it with a 2K clear, and that would probably be enough to protect it and not react underneath. But yeah, it's a lot of work for me sanding. This whole job was just so much sanding. So I better touch on the sanding. You can wet sand or dry sand, mechanically dry sand. If you're dry sanding, definitely protect yourself. And wet sanding as well. Make sure you're always wearing gloves and stuff.
Don't want that shit getting inside of you, especially breathing it if it's dry and it hasn't been curing for that long. It's real bad for you. So definitely keep an eye on that. And okay, do not be afraid to cut into it with like 120 grit for a start with a nice block. By hand, even non-power tools, you can actually rip into it really quite nice and just put some music on it and just go to town. Keep an eye on it for blowing through though, especially if you got ripples like I had. And around seams and things, around edges and stuff, is where you'll blow in. So just be aware of that. But yeah, go through 120, and then maybe 320, and then 400. Then you can clear coat it after that, either matte or gloss, just whatever you like. Just going back to the applying of hot coats as well. It's really, I tried a sponge one to stop getting the bristles in. So it was like a sponge brush instead of a real bristle brush. But I actually put like tiny wee air bubbles in that I had to then put heat on to like bubble them out. So I wouldn't actually recommend that. I just use a brush. You can do the trick where you super glue at the top of the brush so it doesn't drop as many bristles. Or just buy a more quality brush and just keep an eye on it. Like you see the old one, you get a chance to pick it out and then you can sort of brush over it again and it levels out. It's not the end of the world. Now I did a wee bit of forged carbon on the dash here and some other bits as well, but I really recommend using the peel ply on forged carbon. There's a bit of gold leaf I'm putting on here as well, just to make it pop a bit more. But it is really coarse, so you need to use a whole lot of epoxy, and that's why it's beneficial to use the peel ply just to help level it out, and it fills those holes in and stuff. You got to do quite a few like sandbacks and then layers of the epoxy too to like really get it nice and level again. But once you do it, it looks real awesome. So yeah, have a play around. It's a really fun and it looks awesome. So just to recap, I would recommend putting not sticking it all down with the glue. Put the epoxy down on the part, then make sure you have the right paint under it, then put the carbon down and rub it on and let it set at that stage, then do another coat, or let it set up to a certain point and then put another layer on later on once it's almost set, and then sand that, then come back and do 2 hot coats and get it on really nice and thick, so then you have something decent to sand into, get everything looking good. Then don't be afraid. If you stuff something up, you can kind of save it. Like I was really hesitant on some things, as you can see, but the dash was the last thing I did, and it was like little bits of leftover carbon, all sorts of shit. It actually came out really good. So don't be afraid to just give things a try, eh? Okay, so now's the point where I'm going to end the video, and we've got all the body sitting together, and it's all carbon, and it's reasonable, but it's still got another hole sand and another hole clear coat to go, because it's definitely not perfect yet. Plus I'm going to do another step in this next stage, which you'll see on the next video, and you'll see I've also got some vivid marks of some ideas I've had on there, but pretty cool to see it outside. Come in, you can see all the carbon weave here. See some imperfections like these wee bits and stuff, but I should get rid of them in the next sanding. And that is the gloss clear. Back, I've obviously got to do a bit of sanding just there, and the back is the matte clear. Now let me know what you like more. I'm sort of tossed up between the two because I like them both. I don't like super gloss, but I almost want to try and find intimate. Not that I know how to do that. I think with my matte clear that I have on the back, I can actually change the amount of thinners that I use, or reducer, and it changes the amount of gloss, so maybe I need to have a fiddle with that. In the centre, where I did the forged carbon, it's looking really cool actually. Again, it's one of the spots that really needs quite a bit of sanding, but yeah, not really happy with how it is, like just sort of where it blends out and stuff. I just need to do a bit more work. These bits are good, and then I'll show you where I had all my problems on the bonnet. Up through there was where I had a lot of them, and you can see it's still visible, but a shitload better than it was. Took a lot of work to get that right.
The guards are looking heaps better than them. Still not perfect, but you know, working on it, and I still got a ways to go on these. So in the next video, it's going to be me getting these body panels on the car all tidied up, looking good, in way more of a finished state. Then I'll come back and address these again, just in like the final finishing, and everything's getting really, really close because this has taken me a very long time to get to this point. There's been a lot of sanding, and it's got to the point where like you just have enough, and you have to go work on another part of the car because you just get over doing the same thing over and over again. You end up on Groundhog Day, where you just in and out doing the same thing every single day. But man, it's worth it to see it in this point, and I know that after the next finishing stage, it's going to be even more amazing. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you there. Thanks for watching.